back. So here we are, another week of OWL Season 3. We're getting towards the very end, closing in on the Countdown Cup. And then here we go, finals. It's going to be playoff time after that. So super exciting stuff. We've got another full set of matches going down. Got a couple games today, and then nice full sets on Saturday and Sunday. So hope you guys are excited for them as well. It's time for some of the lower teams. It's do or die time. It's time to start getting some momentum. The seasons are just going to be over. So without further ado, we're going to get into it. Starting off today, we have a couple of definitely underdog heavy games. So starting off, we got Dallas Fuel taking on Philadelphia Fusion. So Philly, obviously the favorite in this one. Dallas coming off of a couple straight wins. A couple of, lower tier teams for sure, taking down Houston and then Boston. But a win is a win in the Overwatch League. Can't take any of them for granted. We've seen teams going down to the Justice recently, so you gotta be legit every single game. Otherwise, who knows what can happen. So, Philly definitely favored in this one. I think that they have, the stronger team. Obviously, their record is a lot better. They've been able to win their close games. We saw them recently come back and reverse sweep the Gladiators. So, super deep team. I think Dallas gives them an okay fight here. Not going to go for an upset here, though. Dallas, like I said, what's their best victory? Like, have they beaten any teams that are like upper tier? I can't think of a single one. So, a little bit of a challenge here for them. It's going to be a nice proving match, though. If you can take a map and if you can look competitive, I think you can take away some things and really like them. The ongoing story with the Fuel is, will they feel decay this week? Recently we've seen a lot of the Doha and Onigod. So who knows? Maybe they'll bring back decay for this one. Maybe they'll do a little bit of a rotation. I personally am a fan of the 3-person DPS rotations. I think that they make you harder to game plan against. When you have, even if there's a couple of them that have overlapping hero pools, then everybody has their own play styles on heroes. So I think that that's going to lend itself to a harder team to play against for sure. And you can have different people, different play styles, and have them all pop off at certain times. So in the end, I'm gonna go with Philly here, 3-1. But again, this is a really good test for Dallas. After getting a couple of victories over low tier teams, it's nice to play one of the best teams. Because you can really gauge how much you've grown. Next, we got Valiant against Outlaws. So again, Outlaws looking real rough. Lost 3-1 to the Washington Justice last time out. You never want to see that. Valiant looking pretty good. Did take that loss to Atlanta earlier, but they've done pretty well against the lower tier teams. Have more of their regular starters back in, and we haven't had many lately. So I'm gonna go for an upset here. I'm gonna say Houston wins this, and my logic is everybody says Houston, they're looking better. They always take a map or two. But they never win. They never pull off actually getting that third map. We saw it against Dallas. Justice, they got off to a good start in one map won, and then it all kind of slid downhill. So, because I'm not super confident about the Valiant right now, I'm gonna go for an upset here. I think that we see a couple of weird results here coming up in this week, and again, Houston, they've had these improvements, they've had these close games, they've had pop-off moments from some of their DPS, some of their supports, so it's not out of the realm of possibility. So I'm gonna go for it, pull the trigger on an upset, and say that Outlaws take them down 3-1. Next, you got the Seoul Dynasty taking on the Guangzhou Charge. I'm not going to go for an upset here. I think the Charge take this one. Seoul still looking a little bit lost out there. I think the Charge take this 3-0. You know, we saw them lose recently to New York, which was a nice victory for them. But that's, you know, they still kept it close. Well, it was 3-0, but they kept a couple of the maps very close. And, you know, losing to New York is not a horrible thing. You know, New York is an extremely good team. So I think Guangzhou definitely bounces back here. Seoul, too many inconsistencies in the play, too many weird comps on certain maps. I just don't trust it. I think they'll snag a map. You know what I think about? Yeah, I think they snag a map. But in the end, the Charge are going to take this one 3-1 and give themselves a bit of a better shot in the Countdown Cup. You know, give themselves a little bit of a higher seed. Interesting one after that. You got London Spitfire versus Hangzhou Spark. I'm going to actually go out on a limb here and say London takes this one. You know, I feel like I've been a little bit overcritical of London. You know, they've really had a solid season for having this nice young team. You know, bunch of rookies. You know, we've had great performances. You know, up and down their lineup. You know, you can look at guys and be like, yeah, they had a really good match there. They had a really good match there. They had a couple of rough ones, but most of the time, you know, even against the better teams, they're able to put up a solid fight. And even if they go down, you know, they take some fights. They take a map here and there. So I really like London. I think that they're an up and coming team. Like I said, I think that they could be a serious threat next year. With maybe like one more addition or two. And I'm going to say that they take down the Spark because the Spark just seem up and down every week. This could be an elite team, but I'm going to go with London, catching them off guard here and taking it 3-1. And then we got New York Excel taking on Shanghai Dragons. That's an exciting one. Should be super good. I'm going to go with the Dragons in a 3-2 victory. First map fiver of the week. You know, two great teams. I love Mono. I mean, 2 weeks ago, had just a really rough time on the Wrecking Ball. Didn't look super comfortable on it. You know, it's never been one of his best heroes ever since he launched. And then last week, you know, he came in and he looked incredible against the Charge. You know, his ball just looked so much better. You know, all of his engages were a lot more clean. He was generating ults way faster. You know, his adaptive barrier usage was on point. He was coordinating really well with his team. He wasn't dying that much, and when he was creating opportunities for New York to push in anyway. So I really like that it seemed like that week he just grinded out ball, got a lot more comfortable on the hero. You know, we already know how an elite of a Winston he is. You know, very good Reinhardt as well, and he can obviously fill in the Orisa quite proficiently. So, you know, I like a lot of things for New York. Still think Shanghai is a little bit better right now. You know, I think that they'll take this one in a close one. Shanghai's had very good luck generally this season in the very close matches because, you know, they've had just a complete solid roster. They haven't had as many you know, rotations, substitutions. You know, they don't have as many players that they have to give maps as a team like New York. So I think a couple of these things, paired with the fact that I think Shanghai is just a little bit better right now, they're going to take a very entertaining series 3-2. Then we got Paris versus Washington. So Paris looks dominant right now. They've been rolling over their competition. You know, Gladiators looked really solid and almost beat Philly. And then, you know, next day, Paris just rolled them. So it's a very good sign for the Eternal. I think that they clean up Justice with absolutely no problems at all. I think this is a 3-0, and they're going to, you know, they're going to threaten for the Countdown Cup. You know, they could, they're looking for 2 tournament wins in a row. Then we have, once again, the battle for Canada. Vancouver Titans versus Toronto Defiant. Defiant have taken this one the last couple of times, and I think they will again. You know, sitting at 7-12, taking a couple of rough losses last time out, but, you know, they've played against some really good teams, so I think that they're definitely still a threat. I would like to see Surefour back in instead of Logix. I think that they took a little bit of a step back last week with Logix in there. I think they also just didn't look nearly as comfortable on the Winston Zarya kind of thing. You know, Numlock didn't look super comfortable on that. So I think that for Toronto, you got to get back to the Orisa or the Reinhardt pretty heavy. comps. So hopefully they can do that. As for the Titans, I feel like they did that thing where, improvement. It looks like, oh man, they won a couple of games. Getting a pretty high seed in a tournament, and then they're just kind of sliding a bit now. I just don't really see I don't want to say that they've peaked, but they've definitely hit a level that they can't easily improve from. And Toronto has looked really solid ever since the Genji buffs have come out. I think that they have a diverse hero pool for their DPS, more so than Vancouver. Vancouver's got some solid DPSs in Dalton and Shockwave, but their hero pools aren't super diverse. So I'm going to go with Toronto here. I'm going to say it's a 3-1. Then we got Houston going up against San Francisco Shock. So for the Shock, Violet is suspended for this game. And I would say that this is a big deal, except they signed Twilight this year. So they just use Twilight and Moth now. They probably won't be quite as clean because that isn't the lineup that they've been using the most, but those are two extremely good support players in, so I don't think it's going to be a huge loss for the Shock, and I think that they get this one done. I don't see Houston beating them in this matchup. I'm going to go with the 3-0. That's what Shock does. I think that they're going to look really clean, super crisp. They have to feel good about themselves, going into the Countdown Cup. So I think they're going to be very practiced going into this one. So, got Shock taking down Houston. Going on to Sunday, we got Dallas Fuel taking on the Atlanta Reign. Again, very interesting matchup here. Atlanta, they've looked pretty good recently. They did lose to Florida, but then they took down Valiant. So they've looked pretty good. The Edison Urster DPS pair, that Baby Bay is retired. Just looks solid. I think it's a lineup that a lot of people would have expected to see more coming into the year. But I think we have two pretty evenly matched teams. I like Atlanta a little bit more. I think that they are going to take down Fuel 3-1 here. We've talked about how Atlanta, they cannot beat any of the upper tier teams. But right now, Dallas is definitely a mid-tier team. And Atlanta has looked really good against those type of teams so far. So I'm going to go with the Reign here. I like their tank line a little bit more. I think that the support line has been a little bit better with considering these last couple of metas. And as long as Dallas doesn't find a way to just absolutely slaughter Dogman early on in fights, I think that Atlanta should be okay. I think that this is definitely a matchup for Fuel where you want to run Decay and Doha, because Decay has more of a in your face, just going to get a bunch of kills, going to rip up your backline kind of style. And I feel like Onigod has more of a team centric, gonna burst down the tanks, gonna generate fast ults and make good use of those. And I think against Atlanta, you want to play more aggressively. You want to really dive that backline, because when they have struggled this year, that's why. It's because their backline is going down early, and then everything kind of crumbles from there. But in the end, I think Atlanta is just a better team overall, and they're going to take this one, as I said, 3-1. Then we got Gladiators going up against Florida. So another tough matchup for Gladiators. Obviously that heartbreaking loss to Philly, and then just they got pretty much smashed by Paris. You know what? I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to have confidence in my 7-8 team. I'm going to say the Gladiators get this win. Florida's looked solid, but I don't think that they're better than... I definitely don't think they're better than Philly or Paris as of right now. If we get the good Gladiators, this is a very, very entertaining game. I think it goes all the way to map 5, and I think that LA, for once, clutches it out, gets a close victory, gets themselves a little bit more confidence going into that Countdown Cup, because they really need to win here. They did face two of the best teams in NA, but with the talent that they have, like I said, they've looked really, really good in spots. I think that they will again. It's their only match of the week. They're going to have a lot of time to prepare for it. I think they take down a good Florida team. If they don't, next year you have to have a new coaching staff for Gladiators, as well as a couple of new players, because, 7-8 with the players that they have is just not great. Florida, I'm still kind of in a little bit of a wait and see mode. I think they're a solid team, like probably anywhere between 5 and 7 in the region. But to get to that melee status, or they're one of the very best teams, I need to see more from them. I need to see them smack Gladiators here and kind of prove, okay, yeah, we're top 4. We're right up there with those other 3. Like I said, I'm gonna go with the Gladiators. I feel like I haven't picked them in forever. I'm gonna say they win it 3-2. Then Philly versus LA Valiant. Then of course the last game will be the 12 versus 13 for the Countdown Cup. To determine who is eliminated and who actually will make it into the tournament as the final team. So I'm gonna take Philly here again over Valiant. Like I said, Valiant just they feel like they've lost some momentum for me. Still a solid team, but they're right in the middle of that pack in the NA. They're with the Florida, your LA, your Atlanta, your Dallas. Those teams that, they've had good moments, they can win matches, but they can't beat any of the top tier teams. They have these rough matches. They haven't ever really gotten on a roll or gotten super far into most of these tournaments. A couple of them have, but they have not consistently made it. Had success in these type of tournaments. So I'm gonna go with Philly here. I'm gonna say it's a 3-0 with pretty much every map being close. Valiant still have some really good players, but like I said, something just feels off with them for me. Let me know if you agree with that or if you disagree in the comments, because ever since the Summer Showdown, they came in and they looked just kind of rough. They lost to Toronto right away in the qualifiers. So we'll see. I'm definitely taking Philly here. They've proven that they can just rack up the wins in the regular season for sure. So those are the predictions for this week of OWL. Like I said, last week before the Countdown Cup, last big tournament for some of these teams to really start to get some confidence, make a deep run, get some extra wins. Of course, as we know, every team is going to be eligible to make the postseason this year. So even if you're the number 13 team like the Justice, you still have a shot. It's just a lot. Your chances are a lot lower. You got to win a lot more matches. So with that being said, thank you guys very much for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I picked a couple of upsets this week. Let me know if you got any other big ones that come to your mind. Hero pools once again opening up. So I think we get a lot of good matches in this weekend. I'm very excited to watch. I hope you have yourselves a wonderful weekend, and then I'll see you in the next one.